All right, we're on the back side of notes, and number 3 says, describe a single rigid motion that maps triangle AED. So that triangle there, onto triangle CEB. All right, and we'll pay attention to the letters. We have to get A from the one triangle onto C. So A has to go onto C under our rigid motion. E has to stay at E. And D has to go to B. So if you guys can think how you can get the blue points on the blue points, the red point stays on the red point, and the green point stays on the green point, I think you guys can see that the rigid motion in this picture is going to be needing to turn the triangle. And once you turn the triangle around point E, it would match up. And so by turning it, our rigid motion in this one is going to be a rotation. We are going to rotate it around point E. And if you think about how many degrees, hopefully you realize that that's 180 degrees. So a rotation around point E of 180 degrees. If we wanted to do that in notation, it would be a capital R for rotation. E would be our point of rotation or center of rotation, comma, 180 degrees is what we would have to turn it. Okay. All right. Number 4. It says describe a single rigid motion that maps triangle KJX onto triangle LJY. So we need to get that yellow triangle onto the blue triangle. Okay. Play the letter game. K has to go onto L. J has to go onto J. And X has to go onto Y. So in order to get the yellow triangle onto the blue triangle and all the points on their matching points or corresponding points, I think you guys can see that this is going to be some sort of flipping. However, there is no line in our picture that we would flip over. Our line that we would reflect over would look something like this. All right. And so we're going to go ahead and write down reflection before we forget our rigid motion that would map the one triangle onto the other. However, when we talk about reflections, we have to give the line we're reflecting over, and this line of reflection doesn't have a name because there's no letter down here. We could use J at the top, but there's no letter down here. So we might have to describe the line of reflection. And if you guys remember from our notes, the line of reflection is the perpendicular bisector. So we could talk about this red line being the perpendicular bisector of XY here, or KL. So it's a reflection over the line that is the perpendicular bisector of XY. That one would be hard to notate, so I think we're going to leave that one in words. Okay? All right, that was a little bit tricky. In number 5, it says in regular hexagon, A, B, C, D, E, F, shown below, A, D, B, E, and C, F all intersect at G when triangle ABG. ABG. When that triangle is reflected over BG and then rotated 180 degrees about point G, triangle ABG is mapped onto which triangle? Okay, so first off, what did they say? They want us to reflect it over BG first. Here's BG. If I were to reflect my triangle over it, A would reflect over to here to C, B would stay B, and G would stay G. And so this blue triangle is what you would get. But then they want us to then rotate it 180 degrees about point G. So if I take this triangle that I just got in blue and rotate it 180 degrees, basically I'm turning it upside down. And hopefully you guys agree that this would be the triangle you would get if the blue triangle rotated 180 degrees about point G. And that is triangle FEG, which is number 1. Okay. One last question. In the accompanied diagram, describe the rigid motion that maps triangle ABC. Oop, that's not triangle ABC, that's the prime one. Let me erase that. We want original triangle ABC, which is this one. And we want it to become triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So this one's nice because they use the primes that we don't have to go and highlight the points. We know B is going to go to B prime. And we know C is going to become C prime. And we know A is going to stay A. All right, in order to get that yellow triangle onto that blue triangle with the corresponding points, C going to C prime and B going to B prime, I think you guys would agree that this triangle is going to not need to be flipped over that line L, that it's going to have to be turned around that point A that's on line L. Okay, and so this is going to be a rotation. If you didn't pay attention to the letters, you might have said a reflection. Okay, and I think they put that line in there to mess up with you. So it's a rotation around A of 180 degrees. So this would be a rotation around A of 180 degrees. And there's our rigid motion. All right, hopefully that helps, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next day of notes.